Hello, welcome to another pen talk. Thanks for viewing. Today, this marks the pen talk video 51. I don't think I ever thought I would get to 51 when I started this, but I've enjoyed every one of them, and hopefully my viewers have also enjoyed them. Thank you for your comments and support. I'm going to do a very popular pen. Those who saw the video from the Commonwealth Pen Show, I mentioned that I found an M800 there that I fell in love with. Eventually, I worked out a deal with the seller, and it arrived yesterday. So we'll take a quick look at the note. This was really nice, and this is one of the good things about a pen show, is you can find things there, and they can find things at a good price. And the Commonwealth Pen Show was of a smaller variety, so I think there were more items there that I think you could consider finds. So this is as you may recognize, I think it's now the common boxing for the higher end Pelikans. And it's an M800 in black and red, and the eye there is for the nib, which is one of the reasons why I was attracted to this pen. One of the things I think is interesting is there's a hole in the other side, so you can push out the box. Again, a nice little engineering feature. And it actually comes out right side up. It's a nice box. It's a good size, not overly done, not over the top. Nothing extremely ornate about it, but very functional. The top just lifts off. We have a nice booklet on Pelikans. It's well done. Edelstein, they're pushing their inks. There's some of their unique pens. And as we go into this, we'll see the pen that's in the box. From what I can understand, this pen is no longer made by Pelikan. So I guess that would put it into a collector's mode. The classic faux leather feels good. You can see it takes up indentations, and this was probably stored for a couple years since it was made. Underneath here is the warranty and a few other little tidbits, but the important part is the pen. I have to say that this is a pen that I have been looking for a while. I like the red stripes. There's a lot of green ones, a fair number of blue ones. Of course, tortoise everyone loves, but I like red, and this was nice. And that was one thing, the first thing that caught my eye. It was mint in box, so that was the other nice thing, and the price was excellent. As we look at this nib up close, you'll see that it is not a standard nib, and it is labeled IB for italic broad, I would assume. It's more like a stub, but it certainly is a different writing experience, and that's one of the things that I've been looking for. So as soon as I saw the nib, I knew the pen was a pen that I wanted to own. It is inked up with an interesting ink, and we'll take a look at the writing a little bit later. But I thought we'd do a little bit of walk down history lane with the M800s. I think this may have been the first one that I purchased. Again, very plain boxes. And if you can check out the labeling, this is the M800 transparent in green. Compared to the other boxing, this is much simpler. Much smaller, nice reflectivity, and as you can see, they're promoting this as a collector's edition. This may have been the first of the M800s that they label as a collector's edition. As we open it up, we'll see a little bit of history. I purchased this at Pearl Paint in New York City, and the price was, to me, extremely reasonable, $270. You can imagine, those of you that may have checked this pen out on eBay, it seems to have gone up quite a bit in value. They also just gave you a very simple registration guarantee. It was number 218 out of 3,000. 3,000 is a pretty large limited run, especially in 1992. So we'll take a look at the pen. This pen was a daily writer of mine for a while, and what may or may not be apparent is there's a little bit of crazing and staining in the barrel section, and I will explain in a second what I think the cause of that was. Again, it's an 18 karat nib, classic traditional two-tone, and the ornate nib drawings that it has. So this is the cause of the crazing. This was the ink that I was using at the time, which has a reputation of being ill-behaving. I certainly did like the bottle and the shape. I mean, I love the color, but obviously it wasn't something that was good for this pen. I also would say that Pelikan probably could have used a different resin or done something to make it more resistant to that condition. This pen also is the one that encouraged me to get a TWSBI 580 because the wrench allowed me to take it apart. And as you can see, the piston originally stopped here, and after working on it and reassembling it, I got a little bit better ink fill here. There's a larger area now to have the ink, and you can obviously see the difference between where the ink used to be and where it would be now. But I haven't used this pen regularly. I have written with it recently, and I also worked on the nib because it was not the best writer. So now we're going to take a look at more history of, this is the M800 in classic black. And what makes this unique is on the cap band, as you can see, it's made in West Germany. So that's places this pen 1987 to 1991. I purchased this on eBay. My recollection of the price was about $100 when I snagged that auction. I was very pleased with it. This pen became a daily writer of mine for a number of months until I almost lost it, and then it went into the collector's box. The nib on this pen works very, very well. I enjoy writing with it, and I still enjoy writing with it. The classic clear section, and again, as you can see, the classic Pelikan nib. So that would be nice to just see what differences there are between these three nibs. So let's take a look at that. Because these cover, close to 30 years of manufacturing a particular brand. So let's put these in order. So on the left is the earlier one, the one made in West Germany. In the middle is the transparent green one. And at the end is the latest acquisition, the red stripe. Very consistent in their design. If you can look at the bottom, you'll see that the earlier two have the gold inlay in the end cap that you use to do the filler, the piston filling knob, you might refer to it as, and that they removed. Certainly probably a cost savings measure. So if we take a look at the caps, another change that they made was the way the Pelikan is in the cap. The earlier one, again, is on the left. In the middle is the, there's not too much difference between these. There could be a couple years. And then obviously the newer one, as you can see, it's like a screened on design, and the other one is an inlay. So that's one of the changes. As I mentioned, the pen was bought at Pearl Paint, which one time they had 3 stores in Manhattan, and they're since now down to none. Or they may just have one on Canal Street, but now it's purely artist materials. But they did have at one time a very nice pen collection in the main floor, and and they had very excellent pens. Like here's the Waterman Opera pen, which I do have. I have that. I did not buy it at Pearl Paint, but as you can see, their pricing was excellent. And here's an ad for the M800 collector's pen, and you can see their price there. And they're also selling a R800 rollerball. They had some sailor pens, not the regular fountain pens. They also had some Parkers. There's the Centennial dual fold pen. Probably many of you wished you could have had an opportunity to buy it then, because it has certainly gone up in value also. So it's a little bit of a history lesson, and also a little bit of view. That pamphlet was from 1992 when I purchased the green trans. One of the other things that we'll take a look at is consistency in design engineering specs. So here is the oldest cap that I have, and as you can see, it screws on and fits easily onto the newer pen. So they've been consistent in at least that part of the pen. Show you how the transparency actually is in this red Pelikan 800. So I got out my trusty LED light. As you can see, there's a little bit of, you can see the mechanisms in there. As we come down the barrel, you'll see the piston. There's the shaft, and then of course the seal that's on the end of the piston. And I had a pretty good ink fill in here. It's pretty much all full. There's just a little bit of an opening there at the top. So that really wasn't much of an effort I had to fill the pen, but there it is. Very easy to see it from that view. You need an extra light to bring out this transparency. So my trusty LED is doing its job. So this fits nicely in the hand. It's light, it's well balanced, it posts securely, fairly deeply. I wouldn't call it real deep. It makes for a long pen, but certainly not unbalanced. It slightly, I think it's better, the balance without posting. It feels as a better pen. Let's take a quick look at how this italic broad nib lays down ink. Extremely, extremely smooth, which Pelikans are known for. I don't know whether you can recognize the ink. You know, it's a natural line variation between the horizontal and vertical writing, and I, you know, those of, like I said, those of you that have followed some of my other videos, I just enjoy that. This is not a pen that you're going to do fine writing with. It's not designed for that, but I can certainly see writing a lot of letters with this. So if you haven't recognized the ink, and probably not, it's J.R. Bond's 1670 hematite. This is the only 1670 ink that I have, and when I filled the pen I forgot to shake it up so it didn't get as much gold in the ink. There is a fair amount of shading to the ink. This is on Tomoe River paper. And the other thing that I find, which I've had with other Pelikan nibs, is the nib has this particular sound to it. Originally it was singing, but that seems to have gone away, which may be from writing. I've only written a few pages with it since I've gotten it. So I expect to put this pen into my daily rotation. Notice the ink is not particularly fast drying on this paper. And this nib, I wouldn't call this nib super wet. I think my other Pelikans are wetter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it certainly lays down a nice amount of ink. The feed is extremely consistent. I don't think we'll ever find an issue with this feed, which is what Pelikans are known for, and this is no exception. Take a little close-up of the writing. You can see the line variations. Also, you can see a little bit of the shading. As I mentioned, this lays down a nice ink line. It takes a while to dry. Hopefully you enjoyed this little review of a well-known pen brand, and hopefully this nib has your interest. And like I say, that's just a very well done. The way the tipping is done, the way it has been ground, just I personally, like I said, when I first saw this nib at the Commonwealth, at the Boston Commonwealth Pen Show, I knew I had to add it to my writing experience. So thank you all for watching, and hopefully this is a bit of interest to you to take a look at a different type of nib on a pen which you might be familiar with. So may all your writing experiences be pleasurable, and may you have many.